Welcome back to this Monday's episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody. I am solo today, but Tony and Nick Barr will be bringing you Bulls post game either tonight or tomorrow during lunch. So stay tuned for that as the Bulls have a big game, need to bounce back. But today I am hitting on with you guys a busy weekend with Bills Mafia having 3 people come in from the Bills organization. An offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and assistant GM came in this weekend to talk to the McCaskeys about the head coach and GM vacancy. Bills defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier, offensive coordinator Brian Daboll, and assistant GM Joe Schoen all spoke with Bears executives this past weekend, 2 on Sunday, Leslie Frazier on Friday, after their huge first-round win over the Patriots this past Saturday night. Let's learn more about these guys and why whoever they take from this group is a huge signing for both the future and the franchise right now. So I'm going to start off with our offensive coordinator who's going for their head coaching vacancy, Brian Daboll. From the Bill Belichick line of coaches, kind of like a couple people that we've currently interviewed, just like Brian Flores, who is also from the same line, and they worked together while they were in New England. But Brian Daboll, let's talk about him a little bit. He was with the Patriots from 2000 to 2006, and then returned for another short stint from 2013 to 2016. From 2000 to 2001, he was a defensive assistant, so he has a defensive experience in his background, which is great, especially having a head coach, even though he's more of an offensive mind nowadays. From 2002 to 2006, he was their wide receivers coach. 2013, he was an assistant coach. In 2014 to 16, he was a tight ends coach. 2007, though, he went to the New York Jets, and 2008, he was their quarterbacks coach. From 2009 to 2010, he was the offensive coordinator, his first time being an offensive coordinator with the Cleveland Browns. Now, during that time, he did rank 29th in points and 32nd in yards, but it gets much better. We all have to start somewhere, and I'd rather start low and go high than start high and go low, kind of what Matt Nagy did for the Bears over the last few years. But let's get into a little bit more. So in 2011, after his stint with the Cleveland Browns, he went to the Miami Dolphins, where he did better. He ranked 20th in points and 22nd in yards. The Dolphins did not make the playoffs that year, but significant improvement from his time with the Cleveland Browns. Then he went to the Chiefs, where he took another nosedive. Unfortunately, he was 32nd in points and 24th in yards, but gets better again. So then he went back to New England for a little bit. He was that tight ends coach for a while and the assistant coach. 2017 comes around. Nick Saban gives him a call, says, hey, want to come and be Alabama's offensive coordinator and win a championship? Sure enough, he went there with a stacked Alabama offense and made them work. They were college football champions back in 2017. He was the offensive coordinator in that unstoppable offense that took down Clemson in the final game. Sorry, Adam, or Kenny Games. I know it's hard to hear, but that's just a little bit about Brian Daboll. And then now from 2018 to his current position, he has been with the Buffalo Bills as their offensive coordinator. Started bad, a little bit rough, but the Bills had nothing to work with back in 2018, and it got significantly better, working very closely with Joe Schoen. So here's where things got good. Back in 2018, they were 28th in points, but they were 18th in yards. Okay, so middle of the pack, getting yards, moving the ball around, unfortunately not able to score. 2019 comes around. That's when things started taking off for Buffalo. They were 10th in points, 9th in yards in 2019. They were 5th in points and 8th in yards in 2020. And they're the number 1 offense, 1st in points and 1st in yards in 2021. So again, he kind of has that defensive minded background earlier in his career when he was with the New England Patriots. And then he decided, hey, I'm going to stick on the offensive side of the ball. And he's really blossomed into an offensive coordinator over time. Started rough with Cleveland and Miami and Kansas City, but then he came back, learned a little bit more from Bill Belichick from when he was the tight ends coach. Went to Alabama, learned even more through Nick Saban, and bam, now he's with the Bills, leading one of the best offenses, the best offense in football this past season. This guy is the real deal for the Chicago Bears. He's also great for the community. He was one of the first candidates to donate to the Parker Dickerson Fund. Unfortunately, Jeff Dickerson, who passed away earlier this year, due to cancer. I know that was really rough. It's a huge loss for Chicago sports, but wanted to put that out there very quickly that he is a very big community guy as well. Players respect him. Josh Allen talks very highly of him, and he is the reason why Josh Allen really blossomed into the NFL. A lot of people argue. So let's go to the guy he's been working with to build that offense. Assistant GM for the Buffalo Bills, Joe Schoen, who was interviewed also on Sunday after the Bills' big win. to start, he is very interested in being the Bears' next general manager. And that's huge. Obviously, he's one of the top candidates. The Giants have talked to him already, but he has expressed that he is very interested in being the Bears' next GM. Nice setup to get Brian O'Donnell or Leslie Frazier from Buffalo. Leslie Frazier is the guy I'm going to talk about last. I've talked about him a few times, but a big, strong piece to bring in. And the Bears also reported that they're likely going to bring a general manager in first to have some say in the head coaching search. And if he comes, that means that likely Brian Daboll will likely follow as well, or Leslie Frazier will likely follow as well. In my personal opinion, just putting that out there, I prefer Brian Daboll, but I will get to that in a little bit. Going off of that, he has helped put together the current Bills team that has the number one offense in football and arguably one of the top 3 defenses in football. He's been working with Daboll again with Josh Allen. No, I'm kind of repeating myself here, but he helped put the weapons in the offensive line together that got Josh Allen to be the quarterback that he is today. He's 42 years old. He's a pretty young guy still, which is great. Obviously can work with the organization for the long time and eventually maybe move into president of operations. So he will still have a say as a general manager, but he will be at a higher position. Well-deserved if he's able to really bring the Bills to Super Bowl this year. And then of course the Bears. Considered one of the market's top candidates by many analysts this year, he was a key factor of putting this whole thing together, not only in Buffalo, but also in Miami back in 2008, where he started as a scout and he helped draft players, pick players up, just like Jake Long, Vontae Davis, Jarvis Landry, Damian Williams, Xavier Howard, and Jakeem Grant are just some of the people that named. He has a long list of names of people that he brought in when he worked in Miami to kind of put that team together. In his first season with Buffalo, though, he did pick up Josh Allen, Tremaine Edmonds, and Wyatt Teller, all Pro Bowl and all pro selections. Potentially, I know that some of these, it's still, and there's all very young guys. So he's good at evaluating young talent and bringing in pieces through the draft and key pickups in free agency. Personally, if I'm the Bears, I know there's still a lot more people for them to interview, but I would bring this guy in tomorrow. After watching Bill Belichick and the Patriots get absolutely stomped by this Bills team, he had such a big part of putting it together and understanding what it's going to take to beat the team that pretty much owned that division for 20 years while Tom Brady was there and Bill Belichick. Arguably, you got to bring in a guy that's going to do the same, and you want him to take down Green Bay, who has really been the NFC North's leader for the last decade and a half as well. So if he can do that against New England, I guarantee you could definitely do it against Green Bay, and he would love doing it as well. Finally, defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier spoke with the Bears on Friday. He is the Bills' defensive coordinator, the number 1 defense in football by stats. Arguably, a very talented guy. Has been around the NFL for a long time, has 2 Super Bowl rings, one with a player, playing for the 85 Chicago Bears, and also as a defensive backs coach for the Colts, who defeated the Bears in Super Bowl 41 back in 2006. He was in the NFC North as a coach after that season with the Vikings from 2007 to 2013, which from 2010 to 2013, he was the head coach. He went to the playoffs one time in 2012, which they lost in the first round. So personally, I would love Brian Daboll over Leslie Frazier. Not saying Leslie Frazier is a bad coach. Obviously, you have to learn and you come back. Kind of said that about Daboll in his offensive coordinator days. Leslie Frazier as a head coach had it was okay. Went to the playoffs one time. Maybe he learned a thing or two and can bring that to the Chicago Bears, but he has to bring a strong offensive coordinator to handle that offense, as Leslie Frazier is a very, very, very embedded defensive coach. So that's the 3 Bills, coordinators and executive that they brought in to interview. If I had to choose between these 2, I will go back and say it again. Joe Schoen as general manager, and then Brian Daboll as head coach. Would love nothing more because these guys already know who they're kind of looking at, and overall could be an awesome opportunity for Chicago Bears to continue to grow forward. So short episode today. Just wanted to give you guys a quick update of what's going on, that this is an exciting time, that the interviews are going well. Apparently the interview with the New York Giants for Joe Schoen went well. So hopefully he presented the same thing to the McCaskies. But stay tuned. There could be some breaking news coming up in the next couple of days that the Bears finally do sign that general manager and the head coach comes to follow. So with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody. We will see you guys next time.